clams, but.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the City Council Budget Workshop. Calling the meeting to order, and I will kick it over to our Deputy City Manager for welcome and opening remarks.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us for our session number 2. Is that what number we're on for department heads?
No, Department.
I was gonna say, no, it's kind of like 5.
Well, it probably feels like 10, but, and
way
for
she does
us,
math.
it's like session number 45, so I get it, I get it. So just wanted to do a little housekeeping on the schedule. I believe you all have been sent an invite for the additional workshop on May 14th. So we are gonna cancel next week's workshop on the 23rd. It's school vacation week. We have a number of people that have other commitments with their families, so we're gonna cancel that workshop. On Thursday, the 30th, we'll just cover all the items that would have been on the 23rd. I'm gonna hand you a new items list, agenda workshop schedule. We are also gonna skip May 7th, as the city manager will not be here, and on May 14th, we will take up policy items such as the Emerald Ash Board discussion, short-term rental revenue policy discussion, and other department needs that have come up through this process to talk about how we want to incorporate those into the budget.
May 14th?
May 14th, yes. So the intent, I think originally was to try to have the final budget approval on the May council meeting. That would only give staff 2 days to make final adjustments. So we will try our hardest to do that and to get that done, but I think realistically, we're either looking at a special meeting or approving the budget in June, which June still meets with our timeline. It would be fine to approve it in June, but if there's any concern about waiting until June, we certainly could do a special council meeting to approve the budget. Any questions on schedule?
And I think invites were sent out to our calendars, I think. revised
Yes, I
ones,
believe
yeah.
so.
Yeah.
Mhm. I will double check with Ebony though to make sure that that has happened. If it hasn't, please feel free to let me know.
Is that revised for the public? I'm assuming.
Yes,
there's
it
a
will be
website
all
on
be posted on the public, on the website. Yeah. Okay, with no questions about scheduling, we are gonna get into our departmental workshops, tonight. We have a full agenda, so, we did add the page numbers for the budget that we'll be reviewing. I will ask department heads when you're going over, your budgets, if you're jumping around in lines, try to take the council along with you so that they can understand where you're at.
seasick.
So first up is our Public Works and Public Works Administration. Again, all of these departments fell in line with all the other departments. They really presented tight budgets. They nailed the assignment. Public Works in general, Highway is a little unique. This fiscal year that we're in currently, Highway entered a budget that was technically down a person from the previous fiscal year. We didn't backfill a position. We have come to the council since to backfill that position. Over the course of the year, they have had 3 positions transfer out of the Highway Department to fill the Parks and Rec Department and been reassigned to Parks and Rec focused duties. So they are technically short-staffed 3 positions. So they had looked in their budgets since Mike and Amanda oversee so many departments, the 2 enterprise departments, Highway, Solid Waste. Mike and Amanda thought it was appropriate and probably should have been done before now to have wastewater and water be funding highway positions, as there is a lot of coordination that happens on digs and infrastructure fixes that require highway help. So you will see that in the budget. Mike's gonna go through that. The other big change in this budget is you won't see a large line item for local roads. There's a small line item, but there is local roads in the capital plan that you'll see on the 30th. So just voicing that over. And anything else big that I'm missing, Mike? You'll go over it.
Yeah.
Good evening, councilors. Mike Harris, Public Works Director. So the first budget that we're going to talk about is the Public Works Administrative budget, which is basically my budget with Amanda and Jessica are billing. Clerk is also included in this budget, and I'm actually going to let Amanda speak on this particular budget before we move on to the other one. So with that, I'm going to pass it to Amanda.
Good evening, Amanda Ray, Public Works Administrator. Just a brief reminder, the Public Works Administration budget was established during last year's budget cycle, so this is year 2 for this budget, to improve transparency and tracking of administrative costs. As outlined at that time, this budget is funded through allocations from water, wastewater, and highway solid waste. You'll see corresponding line items in each of those department budgets to cover their share of these administrative costs. This structure continues to support clearer financial oversight and more accurate cost allocation across public works operations. For the Public Works Administration budget, there are no significant changes this year. Any increases shown are primarily due to adjustments in salaries and benefit costs. The payroll line may look slightly different compared to last year. During the previous budget cycle, we had separate payroll lines for each position, the Public Works Director, Public Works Admin, and Utilities Coordinator. This year, those individual lines were consolidated into a single payroll line for all 3. Any questions?
Question for Amanda, council? You nailed it.
Okay. On to the highway budget?
Page 280, I believe.
Yes, page 280. So Brian, the highway foreman is here as well. If there's any questions that I can't answer, he can answer. So I just wanted to go down through it and highlight like some of the increases in the budget and some additions. So starting at the top under revenue, you'll see the highway services revenue of $181,400. That is new this year, and that is the line item I added to wastewater to fund a highway position, and the line item I added to the water department to fund a highway position is now being reflected as a revenue line for the highway department to bring money into their budget. We understood from the get-go that it was going to be difficult to backfill positions this year. Typically, in prior years, what should have happened is whenever there was a water main break or the sewer department needed the highway department to do a dig for us, that any overtime incurred during that should have been billed to water or sewer. And I don't think that always happened. And I was talking to a colleague of mine from Southern Maine, and he's also has an enterprise account. And he's like, well, we just fund a position because we know that we're going to need the highway to help us with our digs. So we just fund a position out of the enterprise account. So that was what I put in this year for us to fund a position out of water and a position out of wastewater to help the highway department be able to handle the shortfall that they have and help us be able to get the staffing to a reasonable level for everybody involved and be able to get the tasks done that both highway needs to get done and Parks and Rec need to get done.
And I would note that there's also, so one of the 3 positions that had transferred over from highway to Parks and Rec is vacant, and we are not backfilling that currently. So, like opening the harbor, opening our parks, highway has been helping a lot. So there's still going to be a lot of collaboration. There's going to need to be a lot of continued collaboration between departments.
My question on the transfer of revenue from the water and wastewater, and that sounds, it makes sense to me in kind of theory. I think the concern I have, right, is their enterprise accounts, their enterprise, and, you know, the dollars that are accumulated from those utility users. I want to make sure that we're properly accounting the labor and the work that it would add up to this number, you know, at the end of the year, right? We're saying we're gonna send in $181,400 to fund a position and so on that's gonna be doing this work for those departments. I just think we just need to be careful in documenting that labor to match the value, because otherwise, you know, because of the nature of those funds are coming in.
Yeah, no, I completely understand what you're saying. So the perspective I had on it was, because I've been looking at, so we have added a lot of money to the water and wastewater budgets being paid out to the general fund. And so I looked at if that's proper, because I didn't want us to be in a situation where we were misusing user fees, because that's my job. So as long as we're being provided a service, which we are, from the highway department, then we can use the user fee money to fund that service. And so I didn't look at it so much because I don't think it will, to be honest with you. I don't think if you took all the overtime hours from the digs, the water rakes, and the manhole adjustments and stuff that we did, I can't tell you for certain that it will add up to $181,000. But so just to give you my frame of reference was, we know that we're gonna get service from them. We use them every year. So to help pay for that service, I took one employee position for wastewater, one employee position for water, for a highway position, because I think that is a defensible expense for all the help they give us to give the wastewater and the water to get their stuff done.
Yeah, that all makes sense to
Yeah.
me, Mike, and I think I just, you know, to your, and it's fair to you, right? You've never done this before, you don't know
Yeah.
exactly what the number is gonna be. I
Right.
think it's just important that it's tracked as
Sure.
as best it can be, and then we'll have a year of actuals, and then, you know, that we can update the budget. And then if there is, let's say you only end up using $140,000 worth of, you know, labor, maybe returning that to those funds, just to make sure, because those, you know,
Yeah.
those enterprise funds are for those type, you know,
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So then,
To add to that, what Patrick was saying, that's just that's for payroll for the employee, right?
yep,
Because in all actuality, you've got equipment costs also. You know, if you didn't have Public Works to open for the water and the sewer excavations and, you know, those emergency things, you'd have to have a contractor.
Yeah.
So you'd be getting billed for equipment rental usage,
absolutely.
so.
We can track that as well, because
Yeah,
it's a
because-
revenue that we're assigning to payroll, but it's just revenue into the department. So it
Right.
could be assigned to equipment maintenance, for example, if we wanted to do that. So we can track both of those things. That's very
Yeah.
easy to track.
I think it's fuzzy math. Why couldn't you do an invoice to each department as needed?
Well, because we're budgeting. We have to
Yeah, I
have
mean,
money in the budget.
so it was.
Make them stand on their own, each department. I think it's fuzzy math to start taking employees' salaries from this department and that department, and it's too much guesswork, way too much guesswork. Why can't you track it and create an invoice that would know the costs, instead of just arbitrarily picking two people's salaries?
Really, it was
It's fuzzy
based
math.
on, when I looked at the highway department and what we were short for employees, and then looked at where we're sitting with the budget, and being cognizant of the fact that we're gonna have struggle this year with keeping the budget at a reasonable pace to, not really hit the taxpayers with a big tax increase. And still be able to not have the highway department to be severely short-staffed where we're not being able to get the tasks done that need to get done. That's why I chose to put enough money out of each for them to be able to hire at least 2 employees to try and help offset the backfill necessity that I knew was gonna be very tough to accomplish out of the general fund. Because with facing the increases that we knew we were gonna catch from the school because of their union negotiations, knowing that we had a Parks and Rec department that needed to be funded, I just looked at the writing on the wall and I said, well, we gotta be able to help offset this somehow. Because I don't want my highway people to be severely short-staffed and be completely swamped with work and not be able to get done the stuff that needs to be get done. It's just a negative setup for them. Like, they're not going to be able to get stuff done, so they're gonna catch criticism and flack from the public and everybody else if they're not getting their stuff done. And then you're also gonna start expecting guys to work more time, overtime, things like that, so.
Or they're not gonna be able to support the water and wastewater departments on these digs, and we're gonna have to
Right.
hire private contractors to do that.
Right, so it's just a situation where I see a potential negative impact that could have negative consequences to everybody, and it was trying to figure out the best way to solve that.
I think it makes sense. I think just, making sure that you
Sure.
account for it as you go, and
Yeah.
then that will be concrete math.
Yeah, absolutely. Any more questions on that?
I just have a statement. I continue to maintain it's fuzzy math. You're clouding departments.
That's good data, Steve, I'll take that. We'll analyze it. All right, so moving on to the expenses. The first thing that you're gonna see, the second line item, still on page 280. The 2025 GOB is new this year, so that's a new debt service that was added to the highway department this year. So you'll see that. Moving down to 2 spaces to 51065, vehicle and equipment maintenance. Charlie cut that last year at the end of the budget season, and so we're simply asking to bring that back up, because especially this winter, it was a hard winter, we had a lot of equipment malfunction, a lot of equipment repair, so, and we're over that now, right? Or we're gonna be over that.
Is that where your steel comes from?
No.
No, okay.
We had a lot of hydraulic repairs this year on the big trucks for from plowing and things like that, so that's why we requested that number that we requested there. Salt, we're asking to bring that up because we've been over budget, and instead of just putting a number in there that you're gonna exceed, I'd rather put an accurate number in there. And so, based on our usage, where we're at this year, that's why we asked for that, the number we have there.
And I would just note on the salt that we are doing a regional cooperative purchase with other towns in the region. We're leading that. Amanda's actually heading up that effort, so we're working with Bar Harbor, Trenton, Mount Desert, and Tremont to do a bulk salt purchase. So we're gonna see what we get for bids, and maybe that number will go down.
Mike, can I back you up for a
Sure.
minute? I don't know what GOB is.
General obligation bond.
Bonding, thank you.
Yep. Moving down to 2 line items down from salt, 51,295 road striping. Road striping was also cut last year. It had been at 90,000. And then we have the road striping bids went out, they came back, and so this number is actually based on what the possible real number is gonna be. We haven't come to council to get it approved yet. But that's just trying to keep in line with what the market is.
Mike, can I ask a question on that?
Sure.
Where does the road striping, is it citywide or you
So there's
concentrate
two-
downtown?
There's two striping bids that go out. One is for all the long lines, like the yellow lines, the white lines along the side. And one is for all the crosswalks, turn arrows. So those are the two separate bids. So we'll have a bid for the markings, the crosswalks and all that. And then we have a bid for all the long lines.
And that's all city roads?
And that's all.
That's everything inside the urban compact.
Urban compact?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Does the state do the
Yeah.
outside?
Could I ask one thing? I requested this on this subject when we had a workshop at the beginning of the month. The last two contractors have been city employees, and it was never disclosed when it was brought before the council. And that was painful. When that comes before the council, could we disclose if it's a city employee or
Oh,
not?
absolutely.
Because that was not fair.
Yep.
Not fair at all to find out the last two contractors were city employees.
Yep.
And that just did not set well with the public.
So just to clear that up, none of the contractors are Sierra City employees. And they weren't even, the one that would have been wasn't even allowed to bid. So, just to clear
Again,
that.
at the bid opening,
Yep.
it would, at the bid, at the council.
Mhm.
Again, I wasn't aware of the
Yep.
bid process that I've asked Charlie to let me be aware of and don't get anywhere with it.
Okay. So moving further down the line, so now we're gonna move down to 50705, which is Public Works Administration, and that increase is just based on the increase to the Public Works Administration budget, so therefore it increases the allocation from the other three departments that fund that. Insurance went up, we don't really have any control over that. Liquid calcium, so Charlie cut that in half last year during the end of the budget. And we are going to exceed that. We're simply requesting to put it back to where it was.
And what do we use liquid calcium for?
So we use liquid calcium, well, you can tell them.
Just, liquid calcium's used sometimes in the winter time when it gets down below zero, the salt was the trick. But mostly it's used for dust control on all our dirt roads.
Like when we go out and grade all the gravel roads and treat them, then we use calcium to try and keep the dust down when people start driving.
So there's multiple season application,
Oh, yeah.
isolated to one
And the
season?
calcium goes into, late June into July when we're applying it, so it's after the winter season.
Yeah.
And it's going up. I just got a price increase. They don't know what's gonna go to this year. It was $1.92 a gallon last year, and they haven't said what it's gonna be after May 1st.
Next line item is grader and plow steel. And that, so we actually had put it at 30,000. I'm actually gonna request that we go a little higher on that because since this was put out, we found out a couple of things. Tariff fees are really hitting this particular, industry. And carbide is one of the most common materials for these, and there's about to be a severe shortage and/or lack of ability to get carbide, from what Brian was able to find out.
From our suppliers, there's two carbide mines left in the world. They're both in China. One is played out, it's completely empty, and the other one, what is left, they're saving for the war of defense right now because of all the wars that are going on. They use them on different things in there, so they're trying to come up with a different product, and it's gonna be either ceramic or glass or some other, maybe some diamond stuff into it, but no one has come up with a product that is equivalent to what the carbide is. So if we don't have carbide steel plow the roads with on some of the blades, you're gonna double, if not triple, going to the regular steel, what you had for the carbide.
So I'm actually requesting to amend the 30 to 40.
Ashing, I'm assuming you're tracking this? and
I am,
changing
yes.
So the next line item I'd like to talk about is building maintenance, 51175. It's 4 more down from grader and plow steel. And so basically, like, the highway garage is ancient, and it costs more and more each year to fix the various things that we find wrong with it. And so that's really why we're requesting what we're requesting there. 2 down from that, minor tools and minor equipment and tools. So there's one which everybody faces, as far as that increase that you're looking at there, is just inflation. Everything costs more, tools cost more. But the other thing that we're also faced with is, well, we may end up having to replace some tools. Currently, there are tools being used at the highway garage that don't belong to the city. They're personal tools, and I really don't think that that's an appropriate situation. So I want to take a closer look at that and move towards city employees using city-owned tools to do city work with. Because if that employee decides to retire, leave, whatever the case may be, and they can just take their tools, and now we're sitting there scrambling trying to figure it out. I don't think that's a good scenario. And so I think it's in our best interest to have the highway department own city-owned tools. So that's where we're at with that.
It's customary that mechanics own their own tools. How many mechanics do you have?
1.
And the replacement doesn't come with tools?
So I guess that is the fundamental question. If, for example, our mechanic leaves, how much do you think he has in tools there?
You probably, you get 10 grand.
So he decides
If your
to,
mechanic leaves, do you have a mechanic already employed?
no.
So the new mechanic comes with tools.
You assume he comes with tools, but they don't, they
That's how
don't
the
all come with
industry
tools.
works.
That's the way it works.
The industry comes, otherwise the city will be buying tools constantly, because if a mechanic doesn't have his own tools, I'm talking hand tools, not major tools. You're gonna be buying them constantly because there's no accountability. Mechanics come with a toolbox. The city shouldn't be buying handy tools because you're gonna be buying them every day.
But if the mechanic's on vacation for a week, he's got his toolbox locked up.
Then you don't have a mechanic.
No, we don't. But if something breaks, what do you want to do? Take it to Caldwell's or take it to Bangor? Middle of a
Have-
snowstorm?
Should have 2 mechanics for the size of the fleet of equipment we have.
Well, I don't disagree with that.
That would fix the problem.
I don't disagree with that.
But, I worked for Fleet Services for the state of Maine, and we were provided with our own tools. They were specialty tools, like pressure gauges, jacks, shop tools like jacks, and wrenches that were like socket sets that were 3/4-inch drive. Mechanics were
Right.
expected to have their own wrench sets and socket sets up to 1/2-inch drive. And they had their own impact guns. But also at the crew quarters and stuff, they did have small toolboxes that the crews bought, the DOT crews bought. The state provided it. If they didn't have the tools in their boxes, then
I mean, yeah, so just to be clear, that's what I'm talking about. So you're talking about the mechanic, but all of the guys on the crew
Other
need tools.
incidental tools
Yeah.
to change the cut
Yeah, I mean,
edges.
$12,000, you're not talking about a serious amount of tools here. It's minor tools and equipment, it's not just to buy tools with. You know, it's to work on equipment or buy minor equipment as well. So, anyway. The crew needs to have tools, whether it's the mechanic, if you even take the mechanic out of it, you still need to have tools for the rest of the crew, because all the crews, whether it's hand shovels, whether it's cordless tools, whether it's whatever, a chainsaw, like all of that falls under minor tools and equipment. And so, when you look at all the possible things that you could have to outfit for the highway department, $12,000 is not a significant tool. Like if you had to outfit a mechanic, as Steve's talking about, yeah, you're probably talking, I bet you, these days, you're probably talking 15 grand to outfit a mechanic to do diesel work. I mean, you have a truck company, you probably know how much.
Can't touch it for,
Can't
Can't
come
touch it.
close.
Yeah,
My son's a transmission specialist, and his box is worth about 32
yeah,
grand.
so this 12,000 isn't really meant just for the mechanic. It's really meant for the crew in general to be able to have the tools they need, whether it's, like I said, not just hand tools. It could be a shovel, it could be chainsaws, it could be, I mean, there's a lot of different implements that they use up there. And, you know, when you're doing the kind of work they do, we use them pretty hard, so. Moving on to the next line item, oil and grease. Oil and grease is one, obviously with all the stuff that's going now, the price of it is getting to be pretty outrageous. And we, especially this winter, so we had at least 7 more storms this year than we had last year. We had a lot of hydraulic issues on the plows, which required a lot of hydraulic fluid, which is expensive now. And so that's why we're looking at the increase for oil and grease. Power, I'm sure you've heard it from other budgets, but, you know, the power companies are raising the rates, they have raised the rates. And then, of course, the city ran into a buzzsaw this past year where the solar credits didn't come in, and that really put a hard hit on a lot of the budgets. And so that's why we put the power where it was at. And then IT services is a new line item that was added to this budget from IT. I don't know what goes into that number, so you'd have to ask Jason. We were just told to put it in our budget.
I believe Charlie provided an overview of all of that at the first meeting. And Ashley, I would just add to note that maybe like taking a look at the fuel line item for highway as well, like we're doing with other departments, just to
I don't think we've
increase
gotten to it yet.
if necessary.
Yeah, but that's absolutely gonna be impacted as well. Who knows, I don't know how long this stuff's gonna last in the Middle East, but until it's resolved, we're looking at some serious problems with fuel prices, oil prices, anything that's petroleum-based. We're gonna see it in the wastewater budget. All of our coagulant that we use is petroleum-based, so we're expecting that we're gonna see that price increase as well. But anyways, staying with this budget. So IT services was added to this budget. The next line item is safety. And so safety is just a matter of the inflation, you know, keeping this year, if the budget gets approved, 12 guys outfitted with the safety equipment that they need. That's why we put that number where it's at. And then flipping to the next page, on page 282.
Okay, it's not, it's the next page is your packet, but it's the, they have another page in it.
So it's 282?
Yes,
282.
IT subscriptions is the other line item that was added to our budget from IT. and so I can't really speak on it, but it's 25,462 was added, so the two IT line items added roughly $10,000 or so to our budget, the highway budget.
Is debt service zero, because that debt is paid completely from last year? Yeah. Well, that's good.
And it's good they just didn't put zero and stop paying it.
Yeah.
That wouldn't have been.
If you remember, that was all the safety equipment that we bought last year, and we took the money from wastewater to buy it all, and then we set up a debt service to pay it back to wastewater for the mobile traffic light and that stuff.
I see you got a stipend for CDLA.
Mhm.
Is that
It's
something? that
contractual,
Contractual.
right? Yep.
Any further questions for Mike and Brian for Public Works?
Can I just run by you my understanding of staffing to see if I've got it right? The department is not adding any positions. What you're doing is recognizing, the method that you're gonna use for recognizing the fact that some of your staff time is used for the enterprise funds is to charge each of them for one of the existing folks. So that's showing up in revenue while you're, and it keeps it separate from the employee line, which
Yep.
makes it helpful to track.
Yep.
So it's, I like that because it is showing, since this is the first time you're working with it,
Yeah.
instead of doing a net shift and all of that.
Yeah.
And then I assume when we get to the enterprise funds, we'll see that.
You will see that.
Shift
It's an
happen
expense
there.
line in each of the revenue accounts.
Okay, I wanted to make sure I had that,
Yeah.
and it'll be interesting to see this year. You've heard it, you need to be able to track it so that we understand that what the utility ratepayers are paying reflects the value that they're getting.
Yep.
So,
I mean, yeah. Yeah, okay.
Thanks.
All right,
Okay. Solid waste.
solid waste.
Thanks, Brian.
Dave,
Solid waste is 294.
page 294.
So I think most of you remember from last year, solid waste, we did make some changes in, our revenue lines we increased the sticker price and we changed the scale, minimums because solid waste has been running in a deficit.
Yep. Taxpayers have been subsidizing it for a long time.
With our hauling contracts increasing and such, so this is an area, I think, over the year that we will be focusing on, reconvening the solid waste committee and really spending some time with this budget, this department, to reimagine it a bit, to see if we can kind of move it in another direction. I know that you all are gonna go tour the Hampton facility to see what opportunities there are there, and I know that Dave has been doing a lot of additional things to try to work on making changes in the solid waste field. So, just kind of setting that background a little bit, that we have changed revenues.
Yep, we went from $3 to $4 on the stickers. We didn't really see a reflection of that in our revenues because it didn't happen until later in the fiscal year. The commercial scale went from $110 to $160 a ton. And there's a minimum now on the scale. So, there was a time when, we were billing a customer $1.10. So now the minimum on the scale is $8, which seems to be having the effect we were hoping for, in which now people are opting to buy stickers since they're not really using the loophole to pay a lot less money to dispose of their trash. The last piece that we're trying to enact right now is we're trying to get Dave and Nick set up to be able to take payments at the transfer station so that we can completely do away with the residential billing and we will only be billing commercial accounts, which there's only 7 of them. How many commercial accounts? Well,
Maybe it might be a dozen at the most.
okay. So once that training is complete, then we will also go away from spending the money to bill residents and spending money on the envelopes and everything else. It'll be paid.
That will be spectacular.
Yeah,
I've written checks for $1.10 and then put a
Yeah.
stamp on them.
Yeah.
It
So-
doesn't make sense for anybody.
yeah, so we won't do that. Everybody will just pay right there.
You took cash before, but now we debit and everything will be, okay.
Yep. Yep. And so when you look at the budget, really, you have a big, an increase in the MSW collection, the first line item, 51345, it's a contractual. They have an escalator in there, that we're, forced to deal with. So we're gonna run into that. Payroll went up a little bit based on the merit raises. Same with the transport costs, 51350, it's the 4th line item down. That also has escalator clauses in it, so we have no control over that scenario. We went up on the building maintenance because we have a garage door out there that we actually wanted to repair this year. We don't have the money in the budget for it, and so we're adding money to the budget because it's damaged and it can't be repaired. We had them come out, look at it, it's uninspectable. Their determination is that the door needs to be replaced. And so that's why we did put the money into the building maintenance line for that. Vehicle and equipment maintenance, we went up on that because the scale maintenance was being taken out of another line item, professional services. And it should be taken out of the vehicle and equipment maintenance, so we just reallocated and increased the vehicle and equipment maintenance line. And then further down, you're gonna see line 56005, IT subscriptions, line 56000, IT services, are both new line items added to the budget.
Mike, can I stop you and go back there? You said that the vehicle and equipment maintenance you're moving that from professional services over to vehicle and equipment maintenance, correct?
I believe it was professional.
Well,
That-
it got taken out, it's like $5,600 for
Amanda.
the,
Amanda.
Yeah, it's $2,800 each visit.
it's $2,800 each visit, they come twice a year, to do preventative maintenance, or
Yeah.
what is it? They like
Cal-
recalibrate the scale. And, the first payment, the first time came out of professional services in error this year, and we had to move it to the right GL, so we're just trying to account
Okay, I
for
was-
that in the right line.
Trying to track that in
Yeah.
here, and I think,
Yeah.
I think one of the
I see it.
$2,800 might have been under miscellaneous.
okay,
So just really trying to be more accurate with,
okay. Thank you.
the electronic waste expense went up some, but it's offset by the electronic waste revenue, which exceeds the expense, so we're actually making a profit on that.
With that profit, is that linear, like if the more e-waste we bring in, the more we make? Would it stay at that 50% rate, you think? Because the profit says 1,900, and then the cost is
800.
800, so it's, more than double.
Mhm.
Let's say we brought in twice as much e-waste, would that kind of ratio stay the same?
I would think so. They charge us for the little miscellaneous stuff, like the
Mhm.
smaller stuff, cell phones, stuff like that. But they don't charge for the TVs, and we're charging for the TVs and stuff to offset the cost. We ship it by the Gaylords when they fill up 6 or 8 boxes, so the TVs take up the most space, so that's why we charge per TV.
And have you, just thinking there, it seems like a win-win if the more folks in Ellsworth know about the ability to, bring their e-waste there, and then the cities, it's actually beneficial and helps offset other costs.
As long as it's not the little miscellaneous stuff.
So, all right. Well,
TVs and monitors.
yeah, well, I just,
Are what we charge for. The rest of the stuff is free.
Yeah.
But I believe North Coast Services charges us for the miscellaneous stuff.
Yeah. And I-
The little stuff.
and I think I've seen like in the paper advertisements about this, but I think maybe working with the communications department to get that message out there more
Yep.
On the stuff you want.
Right.
on the stuff you want, only on the good
Right.
stuff.
That's where I draw the line is because we're only supposed to take it from Ellsworth residents.
Yep.
Is our rule. But when some of the non-residents have come in, I won't take the stuff that we get charged for, but if they got like one TV and we can charge for it, it just makes sense to take the money and help with the budget. I don't wanna see them get stuck with it either, because a lot of other towns around us don't have an option for it.
And then the only other little increase is in the training. And it's really just, we have Nick, we hired this year, and they take the core 1, 2, 3, 4.
Or 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, it's just, so, and, we wanted Dave to be able to do a little bit of leadership training, and so that's why we asked for that.
Certified transfer station operator, for 1, 2, and 3.
Sorry. Just make sure people at home can hear you.
Go ahead, Don.
The core 1, 2, and 3 is a certified transfer station operator training.
Have you done it before, or this would be new? for you?
I've done it before. I've been retaking it with Nick, same time Nick's taking it, but I took them a couple years ago. And once you take them, it's good for life.
Any questions from council about solid waste budget?
I have one. Are we trying to get our revenues to equal our total expenses here eventually? Or are we trying to get our revenues to equal the MSW collection, waste disposal, payroll, and transport?
Well, the
costs?
ultimate goal would be to create the transfer station as a enterprise account like the water and wastewater, where its revenue from its users supports the operation.
So
And
we've
then-
got, what, 11% increase this year, but towards our goal, 11% better.
Yeah. But really, like Sarah mentioned earlier, like, it's gonna take some serious in-depth thought process on how we wanna turn this around and generate what we wanna generate. I think at some point we need to seriously look at going to self-sufficiency on that and possibly doing our own stuff instead of relying on Casella. But that's all on the table for when we sit down and talk about it.
We should look into getting a solid waste committee meeting together, maybe once we finish the budget cycle.
Sure.
Sit down and start having those conversations.
Yep, absolutely.
And is there one more year left on the Casella contract?
27 is on the Casella contract, the curbside is gonna come back again.
Okay, so it's time.
Yeah. Yeah. We actually would try to make the effort last year before the transport cost one came up, we just didn't have enough time to pull everything together. So,
Any other questions regarding solid waste? Awesome. Wastewater is 306.
so for wastewater, looking at increasing the septage cost by $0.01 a gallon across the board and a 1% user fee increase. On the revenue side, on the expense side. So payroll, full-time, is just basically merit raises, and we haven't added any employees. We're the same staff we've been. There is, I believe, money in here for half pay for a superintendent. Because I'm still the wastewater superintendent and the public works director. And so at some point, you know, I'll probably have to let that go, which is not gonna be easy for me. But it's something that's probably gonna need to happen for me to be able to totally focus on high level, all the departments, and take some of that off my plate. So we put a half year in there for superintendent. Power is just the solar credits. We are over the power because of the loss of the solar credits. And then we bumped it up some because we are getting the solar credits back, but there is an increase in the rate, so we got to accommodate that. Public Works Administration is the same as the other budget. It just reflects the increase in the Public Works admin budget, increase of the allocation. The 2023 GOB actually, so last year, Finance had miscalculated what the allocation should have been for that payment, and so last year it was only 94,000, I believe. So we had to make up for that this year. So that number that you see there, the 129, is the correct pay for the 2023 general obligation bond. Moving down to 3 more line items to health insurance. That's just the increase in the health insurance. Underneath health insurance, 51075 is the expense line for the highway services expense that we talked about during the highway discussion. So that's the money from wastewater that will go be allocated to the highway department. Moving quite a ways down to 51170. Well, actually, before we do that, so under our debt service, I'm going to come to the council in May, because we have 2 debt service lines that are pretty close to expiring, and we have the money in our reserve to close them out. So I talked to Nate Moore, the previous finance director, talked to Charlie and Sarah, and it just makes sense to really close them out instead of paying the interest over the next 2 or 3 years. And so we'll just wipe those debt services off the books. So once I come to the council in May for the approval, if you guys agree with me, then we would need to come back here and reduce this budget because those line items will no longer be here. But until that happens, I've left them in here.
Is that the
So.
2011?
Yeah, there's a $62,000 one, the 2009, I believe the 2011, they're near the end of their terms. So rather than just keep paying the interest and dragging it out, I'd rather just pay it off, save us the interest money, and wipe those line items off the budget. Then we're gonna move down to 51170 insurances. And that's, again, not something we control. That's just whatever MMA sends to us for our insurance increase. Same with Social Security.
Just to note that because these are enterprise accounts, the insurance and benefits are captured in the account, unlike highway and all of our other.
Yeah, the general fund is all under their benefits section in the general fund. But we carry all of ours in the water and wastewater. So that's why you'll see ICMA contributions, workers' compensation on the second page, so page 308, top of the page. You'll see 3 line items, 2 of which ICMA contributions and workers' compensation. Those increases are not something we control. And then moving down to 51065, vehicle and equipment maintenance. We bumped that up a little bit because we now have the loader that we use for loading the trucks, the Bobcat, 3 pickups. And so, that's why we bumped that up a little bit to cover the extra equipment that we have. IT services is added to our budget. IT subscriptions is added to our budget, so I can't speak on those. And so, but what I would say, and I've said it before, and I'm gonna continue to say, is, you know, we have a significant amount of money that we pay out of our budget, the wastewater budget, for services to the general fund. And yet the city still does not pay a sewer bill. And that's not equitable. We're paying for the services that we get from the general fund. But the city, nobody, the school, nobody in the city pays a sewer bill. You pay a water bill because it's required by the Public Utilities Commission, but you don't pay a sewer bill. And so as our costs increase paying the general fund, it should be a matter of equity for the city, other city departments to pay their sewer bill. And so I'm asking for you to make that change this year.
Is that reflected in the budget that's been presented to us?
No, it would be an additional revenue of around $54,000 coming into our budget.
Oh, I would support additional conversation on this. I remember it from at least last year's budget, that particularly if we're looking at increasing the sewage bills for the customers and the city isn't paying any because it's not required. It's to Mike's point, it's not equitable.
Is
And-
that something you'd like to see on the 14th as part of the larger policy discussions?
That would be
Okay.
a policy change that we ought to talk about.
We will add that to the 14th.
So the impact is
I
54,000.
believe we calculated around 54,000 from last year.
That's citywide, including school?
So we've already passed the school budget.
Yeah.
So we might only be able to do city, we might have to omit the school in this round. And then come back and look at that after. So we might have to figure out what just the city portion is.
Yeah,
And work there first and then,
I just want it to start happening, that's all.
Yeah, no, it's come up before, and I think facing it makes sense.
So. Mm, that's the wastewater budget.
Any questions for Mike on wastewater? I have one, Mike. So looking at the end, you have, total expenses, total revenues, there's a delta of 389,000. Does that money go into like any kind of account?
Yeah, I mean, we're supposed to be carrying an undesignated fund balance, and the reason that we're at that is because we do have a project in the capital improvement plan that is almost completely funded. And so I am actually attempting for the wastewater department to be able to complete that project without taking any money, without having to take any city money to help us do that. Well, I don't think has ever happened before. But we're close, and so,
So that's what you're eyeing for that
Yes.
net revenue is to
Yes.
go towards?
yeah,
Okay.
it's roughly a $4 million project, and we're quite a bit there.
Are we discussing that in the SIP?
yes, it's included in the SIP.
The KIP discussion?
The
Thank
SIP.
you for
The
that.
SIP.
Well, I won't get between the
Oh,
two
we're gonna have
of you on that
SIPs?
With all due respect, I'm going to push back
Okay.
Feel free. We can be bilingual, and I will say Kip. and you
because
can say
Sarah's SIP has a better jingle to it than Sarah's KIP.
No. SIP is something entirely different than what we're doing right now. Thank you.
Okay.
I think I would
Well,
join you
I'm gonna
in that.
avoid that conversation.
Why they don't let us sit near each other?
Yeah, I
It's
guess
just a
so.
problem.
Can't sip near each other? Okay, anyways,
That's why all of you are between us.
any further questions for Mike on wastewater? Great, thank you, Mike. Water, 318.
Yep, so, going with water, as you know, we're looking at instituting the rate increase, so that helps the revenues. And then on the expense side, payroll full-time, is up because we have a new superintendent, we have a new chief operator position. and we have Peter Austin, who came back to the water company. And so that number encapsulates the whole department payroll.
Is that traditionally what the department's been staffed at? And
No.
So this is, and did we increase last year? I'm trying to remember.
No, so we were down to 2 employees at one point. Peter came back. We hired, we had an employee that was in the water, transfer to highway, transfer back. And then, we hired 2, we made an operator position, a chief operator position, similar to wastewater, because we felt it was important for the superintendent to have a second, for when they're not around. Like I have Ray for me as the chief operator in the wastewater department. And then we hired a new superintendent, who just started it. Both of those, employees just started within the last, I'd probably say, a month or so.
Mike, isn't this though reflecting a half of that, it's really a half a position, because
Yeah.
Historically, water paid for a half a position for half the year, and then that employee went to watershed protection for the other half of the year. So it's really only reflecting a half a position increase.
Yeah, it's typically John Whedon did the watershed protection stuff. He's retired. But typically, the way that was funded is half of the full-time salary would come from water, half the full-time salary would come from the general fund. And then the budget, the rest of the remaining budget was also split. Okay. So it's 1.5. Okay, yeah, come on up here. So when we were shorthanded, Peter Austin expressed interest in coming back. He'd been with the water company for 35 years previously. He retired. He knew we were shorthanded, so he came back. And then John Whedon retired, and then we hired Dave. One of the employees that left for highway wanted to go back to water, so he was brought back to water. And then we had the superintendent and the chief operator. And the other thing that's happened is that the water protection that was split has now been put completely back under, all of it is under water now. It's not split anymore. So water's absorbing that cost of the employee. And so that puts us where we're at as far as payroll goes.
And the water protection person with the email kind of about this is still the water protection person, correct?
Yeah, so, yeah, there is a water protection person. John Whedon's retired, and one of the water operators is now gonna do the water protection stuff.
Okay, great, thank you.
And so we're getting the boat launch set up, we're hiring the boat launch inspectors, monitoring Branch Lake, all the stuff, putting the floats in at Green Lake, and also, so, yeah, all the stuff that comes on, bacteria testing, all the stuff that comes along with the watershed stuff is all gonna be within the water
Okay.
company this year. And so it won't be coming out of the general fund. Well, some of it. No.
So, we can talk about watershed. That's the
Yeah,
next
we're,
budget. Don't jump ahead.
yeah, so, that, yeah, we're gonna talk about the watershed budget. So then if you move on from payroll, Public Works Administration, same thing, the allocation just increased because the Public Works Administration budget increased. Electricity, the same thing, rates increased, solar credits disappeared for a while. Health insurance, no control over it. You'll see the highway services expense as the next expense, same as the wastewater. The chemicals is,
Mike, can you stop and explain?
sure,
Is that the staff shift that we talked about?
yes,
Okay.
that's the expense line.
It
That
says
shows as the
unreimbursed
revenue in the highway.
contribution to the water construction operations.
I'm sorry, say that again?
I'm reading on 322, like, what is it? It's unreimbursed contribution to water construction operations, which doesn't tell me that that's the payroll shift.
Yeah, so Charlie basically was saying that money will go from our two enterprise funds to highway, but I don't know his reasoning behind designating it like that in the description.
Okay, but that
I didn't write
matches.
that description.
Okay. I just like when things match, so that I can
Well,
go, okay, that
I
makes
think to the
sense.
point earlier that,
Yeah.
yes, it's, the main focus is gonna be most likely
Right.
used for payroll, but there also might be vehicle expense, equipment
Okay.
expense, things like
Okay.
that, fuel expense that
Yes.
needs to be helped with that.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I just
The way
didn't, I didn't
look-
want to speak for Charlie.
The way I look at it is we use the payroll, like what it costs to pay for a payroll for one person as the starting off point of what it would be, the work, you know, like, that was like our, how to figure.
Right,
value.
rather than
A
dividing it
value.
into 4 different
Yeah.
accounts, it's in one
Yeah.
account.
It's
And
not
then we'll look
necessarily
at it.
just covering payroll, it's revenue for the highway, but we used a payroll figure
Okay,
to create a value.
got it. I would love to see like halfway through the year, halfway through fiscal year 2027 for the finance committee to follow up and see what that looks like. 6 months in ought to be, just to understand,
Yeah.
I understand now, sort of.
Yeah, I mean, the only.
But just to take a look at it.
Yeah, the only caveat I would say with that particular tracking it is, like, we've had, I think, at least 6 or 7 water breaks this year. I don't know if we'll have 6 or 7 water breaks
Right.
next year, so.
But rather than at the end of the year when we're budgeting again,
Sure.
go, well, I don't know, did it work? It's
Yeah.
like just to, and we don't know,
Yeah,
right, how many water breaks or storms or
yeah,
floods or droughts. So we'll see what is coming our way.
okay.
And sometimes water breaks are driven by weather, so in the colder months.
I get it. I get that it's not going to be very neat every, 1/12 of it every month is not going to happen. But I'd rather check in and just say,
Yeah,
how is
yeah.
it going? Is it what you expected? Why is it what it is?
Yeah,
And I would note that as we integrate our asset management system with the water department, there may be more planned construction events
Yeah.
that we are trying to be more proactive with, so.
yeah,
we would be
like,
using-
the main on
Liberty.
Pleasant, Chapel Street.
Yeah, on Chapel Street, the courthouse
we're
road
gonna have to
work,
do a
all of
dig on
that
Chapel
will be,
Street.
yeah.
Okay, so, where was I? We went to the highway services expense, and then source of supply operations chemicals. Really, it's the price increase, for example, the coag we just got an order of was $27,000. We do 2 of those a year. And then we also have sodium hypochlorite that we also use for disinfection. And so this is just reflecting our usage and the cost increase. Employee benefits is not something that, you know, we control. Moving down to 51025, professional services. For the increase you see there, part of that is driven by the new OpenGov software that has been purchased. That's the water's allocation was,
I think for this year was 24,000,
Yeah.
or 25,000 for implementation, but
Yeah.
going forward.
it'll be a lot less. And then also Doppler, now we have Doppler, so part of the Doppler fee is paid out of the water, professional services as well. Moving on, we went down on the building maintenance actually because we're getting a new water plant, so we're not,
I'm sorry.
oh, you're good.
I didn't mean to cut you off mid. I wanted to go up to office rental. That's
Yep.
the space in the Main Coast Mall. Are we keeping the space in the Main Coast Mall?
No.
No.
But we left that there at the time when we did this budget because we thought we would be renting somewhere. And we didn't know where.
And if we do rent at Erky, we will have to pay rent
To
to
Erky.
Erky to
Okay.
make that line. item.
So I just didn't know what to do with that number because I don't know what the final outcome's gonna be.
Okay.
At the time, we were looking at another building. And so we just left it where it was until we could figure out exactly what that number's supposed to be.
And we're gonna kind of hone in on what that exact number is that we'll have to pay to Erky at
Yes,
another time.
we have a follow-up meeting with wastewater superintendent, when he gets back. We have a new wastewater superintendent.
I'm the
Water,
wastewater.
sorry, your wastewater, God, he's very sensitive. about
Clean
Water, sorry. We have a
Dirty
new
water.
water superintendent.
black
He-
gold.
He is out, but, Eric, he's great, he's really gelling with the team, but when he gets back, when Charlie gets back, we're all gonna meet to figure out what that transition looks like, what is needed at Erky to support the water department moving there, and what I think the rent would be.
Yep.
Okay, cool, thank you.
So, as I said, building maintenance, we actually reduced because we are getting a new water treatment plant within the next year or two. And so, obviously, we're not gonna wanna invest too much money into the old building that's gonna get torn down. But we do need to have some money in case there's a critical, breakdown that we need to address. The 2025 drinking water SRF is a new debt service line for the water. The 2025 GOB, which is three more lines down from that, 53215 is also a new debt service line. We went down on the water truck lease a little bit because last year when we projected, we used the lease number from one of, the other pickup trucks that we had leased because we didn't know what the lease payment was gonna be, and actually the lease payment ended up being a little less. The other piece of that is, we made an agreement with Charlie and Parks and Rec for them to keep one of the water trucks that was in good shape. And so the value that we would have gotten for the trade-in on that is eventually gonna come back from the general fund to water to pay for that truck, which helps offset this number. Moving on to the next page, unless somebody has something else on that page they wanna talk about. So the workers' comp admin is not something that we control. The on-call was actually miscalculated in last year's budget and not accurately reflected, and so now it is accurately reflected in this budget. Training, we increased the training because, when we had the contract operator from Maine Rural Water brought it to our attention that they have an apprenticeship program, pretty extensive apprenticeship program that we thought would be excellent for some of our guys who don't have water experience. So we allocated, we're asking to allocate money in the training budget for us to be able to send one or two of them through this apprenticeship program for Maine Rural Water,
Which may be refundable through the Alpha One grant.
so the Alpha Fund grant.
So it might be a net, but we would just have to put it in there to account for that.
Yep. And then, as you see, again, you have the two IT services and subscriptions that were added, and I can't speak on those. But that's 13,000 added to the budget right here. 93 and 43, so 13.6 roughly.
So the amount for 13,000 is a miscalculation, but it didn't get caught until after these were printed, so Ashley already has it down for a change.
9,364 should be the IT subscriptions line,
Yeah.
and then 4,306 should be the services line. And then, down at the very bottom, capital improvements is, so we're asking this year for, the city approved the water department to go to radio meters a few years ago. And we bought the first few installments of them and have installed them, and now it's time. We still have like 300 left that we need to install to bring the whole system over to the radio meters from the old meters that they had before. So that's what that number is for. And then the debt service fell off for the safety equipment, and we absorbed the part of the water protection budget that we were paying before is now in our budget, so that's a zero. We would have paid it out to the general fund.
Any questions for Mike or Amanda on water, clean water? Okay, I think we're on to our last of Public Works, water supply protection, 330.
Yep, and really the watershed, the majority of this is the payroll part-timers for the boat inspector that are at the boat launch just to inspect the boats. There's a little bit of an increase if you go to line 51030 on miscellaneous expense. Is that the one? So at the beginning of this budget cycle, there was originally thought that water protection would be under Parks and Rec. So that adjustment was made prior to it reverting back to us in the water department under Public Works. So we kept it because it's in here, but I'd have to talk to Roddy about what his thought process was on that.
I have a question. Why isn't water supply protection fall under the water enterprise that's
You want to go or
related?
do you want me to go? I'll go.
Maybe give me the short
Because
answer.
when you're looking at watershed protection, it has nothing to do with drinking water. It's really about, because it also applies to Green Lake as well. It's really about protecting the lakes. Whether take the drinking water plant out of it, there would still need to be watershed protection on Branch Lake and Green Lake as the major ponds. So in terms of monitoring the bacteria along the beaches where people are swimming and doing recreational stuff, monitoring the levels at the dam, monitoring what's going on along the shoreline with people building, if they're clear cutting where they're not supposed to be, if they have a septic system that's failing that needs to be replaced. So the philosophy behind it was not about drinking water. It falls in line with drinking water objectives because the plant is there. But if the plant wasn't there, you would still want to have watershed protection to protect your recreational assets and keep them from being polluted, from being infected with invasive species like milfoil and things like that people would be bringing in on their boats. So that's why it's kind of was a split, because the employee that became the watershed steward was a water employee. And that's how that happened.
Great, thank you. Any other questions on water supply protection budget? Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Mike, you're also doing library assessing and planning. I think we're on to the library. And that's page 550. Thanks, guys.
Hi, thank you guys.
Thanks, David. Thanks, Steve.
Have a great day, everybody.
Thanks, you too, Mike.
They know they can stay if they're not ready.
Are we gonna sip if we stay?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you can.
Sip on something. Okay. Sarah, take it away.
All right, you ready?
No.
So for those of you who are seeing the library budget for the first time, it pretty much looks the same as last year. Our biggest portion of the budget is payroll. And then this year, now second biggest in the budget is the IT service and IT subscription, and our data processing line increased by a lot. So those are our biggest increases for the year. That major increase in the data processing line, that is 2 new computers and 1 new copier, but we have to replace all 20 computers by December. So I have quite a few grant applications out. I've had conversations with some wonderful area residents who are possibly going to make us some donations of computers. So hopefully we will be able to get all of them, but yes.
Why do you need to replace them by December?
Because they are older than 10 years and they will no longer work with Windows 10 Pro.
Okay. Have you heard of Connected with Give IT, Get IT?
Yes, I know about it, yeah. So I'm looking at all of our options, yeah.
Okay.
But we need to replace a few of the staff computers with new computers. Yeah. And then we have books is not changing again this year. Most of our material budget actually comes out of donations. So we've included the donation accounts this year for the first time. So you can take a look at those, or maybe you already have. Heat, professional services, building maintenance, those are all staying the same this year. They've been pretty stable. Office supplies, I added a whole $100. We've noticed the cost of a few things going up this year. So just to be a little safe, we try to be very stingy with our office supplies.
I want to go back to heat. You expect
Yeah.
heat to stay the same this year? I don't.
Well, I tell everyone to bring an extra sweater.
That might not cut it.
Well, our heat's also, it's very difficult to regulate. So in the Tisdale house, we have those large cast iron radiators, and you can pretty much turn them on or off. And when they're on, I'll walk in, at least we realized a couple years ago, that if we left them on, we would walk in the morning and it would read 94 degrees. So we've just kind of decided to not heat in the winter. When we get too cold, we'll turn them on for like a day and then we'll turn them back off.
Oh my gosh. Oh my god.
Is that part of
This is part of the renovation
Okay,
and
okay,
why
good.
we really were desperate
Wow.
to do it. Yeah, so we bundle up. It's good. We like cardigans. It's okay.
We will add this heating line to all the citywide heat lines that we will be looking at and see if we need to make any appropriate adjustments.
I think there's a sweater purchase program.
Yes, and the sweater line.
We'll get new branded sweaters for everyone. No, I actually sit with my coat on most of the day.
I think a North Face account would be kind of more useful.
It's fine. We're tough. Let's see, next on, which one is this? I don't have the
I
full.
think you're electronic collection. Before
Electronic
I-
collection, yeah, so that is our consortium fee for Hancock County Download Library, and then any material purchases we make on top of that, it all comes out of donation funds. Let's see, I can't see the full title of what these things are. Building, printing, yeah, those have stayed about the same. Conferences and meetings, that has stayed the same. That's enough for 2 of our staff to attend the state conference. Travel did increase this year. I have only been putting enough for a rental car for that state conference. And this year I've put a little extra in to cover some of our employees' mileage that regularly run errands and do outreach and things. We do have volunteers that do our homebound deliveries, so staff do not do those, but any off-site meetings or things like that, I added a little bit for reimbursement. Dues and memberships, those are just our 2 that we've had for years. Training, we don't have anything in. We've been taking training out of donation funds. Professional services, that hasn't changed. Legal has increased a little bit since it was added to our budget for the first time last year. Telephone, that we got our new phone system in, so it's significantly less than it was this year. So I don't know why it says up 7%. Oh, last year I had budgeted for the new phone system, and then it didn't end up getting put in until February. So it's actually going down from our current. Let's see. Employee appreciation, water, stayed the same. Postage, I decreased a little bit. We're having less out-of-state items. More libraries have joined Minerva, which is nice. And then last on that is the IT subscriptions. Then I think most important that's not in this budget are all of the items that we do spend from our donation funds. So that includes children's, teen, large print, audiobooks, DVDs, and all of our ebook and e-audiobook purchases all come out of donation funds. Our streaming services, we have a video streaming service, Canopy, and music streaming, Freegal. Those come out of donation. Our 3-day-a-week van delivery service, our Culture Pass program, all of our programs, New York Times Access, and then any special projects are funded by grants. So this past year, it was just over 75,000.
I was gonna ask what that was, and
Yeah.
is it worth tracking that in these?
We do track
You
it.
do. It's not in the
But
budget. I just think it's
well,
so
because they're in
important.
a different account, so they're in the Fund 80 accounts, so they're not in our operating budget because those funds roll over anything we don't spend or grants that take multiple years. They're all in the Fund 80.
I want to echo what Tabby's saying. I think even if there's a page in here that says, these are the additional services that we
Yeah.
provide that are funded through donation, it's just good to capture that
Yep.
in the story you've got.
Yeah.
I have a question for you
Yeah.
on the revenues, and it's just asking what's behind the numbers.
Yes.
So 552 gives the breakdown for revenues. I was interested to see that library revenue from other towns is up, while library cards sold and various miscellaneous are down. So how were you able to increase the
We
donation from
raised,
other towns?
we raised their rate.
Okay. So
Yeah.
it wasn't voluntary, it was to participate, it needed to come out. That does sound
Yes.
vaguely familiar from
Yes.
last year.
Yeah. And the other two revenue, that's just based on me estimating.
Are there fewer library cards?
No, I mean,
Being purchased,
we
or-
continue to add new library cards. It does seem to be stabilizing a little bit. We had a big jump of new library cards in like 23, 24. And then 25, I mean, we're still adding, I think we added so far this year over 600. Last year we added over 900, but there's only so many residents. So it does tend to,
And is that for
it'll kind of-
Ellsworth residents and out of town, or just out of town?
yeah, both.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wait, Ellsworth residents pay for a library?
No.
Thank you, because I'd like,
I was like,
No, sorry, we were talking total library card numbers. We can't separate new cards based on, well, I guess we could, it would be a little complicated, but
But people outside of Ellsworth have to pay for a library card.
yes. Yeah. So
Even though-
those,
Is that outside of the library revenue from other towns? People
Yes.
from outside of those other towns have
Yes.
to pay? Okay, thank you.
yeah.
okay.
And I mean, I have a theory, just based on my own observation. Our number of scholarships have gone up by about 25% each year. It's not something we advertise because it's a very small donation account, and we don't want people to abuse it. But we do, we see the look on someone's face, we offer it.
Okay, and that would be cool to capture, again, on a separate page, just to see everything that goes up into the library. And to
Yeah.
be clear, Ellsworth residents do not pay for library cards.
No.
It's people who are outside of Ellsworth or the other towns that pay in.
Yes, or summer people. If someone like has an Airbnb for a month in Ellsworth, we'll make, mainly to cover the cost of materials that they probably won't return, which seems to be a trend. It's the cost of doing business, it's fine.
Yeah, I wouldn't have anticipated that one. Thank you, that was helpful.
Any questions?
Questions?
for Sarah?
I have a comment. When I was elected in 2021, I was amazed that the library was running on a 2015 budget. It had been flat for 6 years. And yet, it has increased just smidgets
We are
since
up.
that time.
Yeah, 5.7% since 2017.
And I'm amazed at the services that you create for $660,000 a year. It just blows my mind with all of these other departments and budgets, school especially. They just continue to rise and continue to go up. Yet the library has stayed extremely frugal and found ways to get services to people, especially the young people. And I'd just throw this out from Mr. Conservative himself. I've said this before, that I would support $1 million budget for our city library.
You have been very supportive of the library. I'll never forget my first budget meeting where you said, go back and bring me your wish list budget. If only I had been here for more than a month, I might have been able to.
Well, it's been so flat and so frugal, but yet so important.
So
Thank you.
successful. You've done incredible work.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Well, it's due in large part, we have about 40 volunteers right now. So we are propped up on a lot of shoulders.
And you guys go right after the grants, too.
I try.
Yeah, I
but-
know, it's a lot of work to do that.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's kind of like you spend all that time applying and writing and, oh, I didn't get it. Darn.
Yeah, that is crushing when that happens, but it's okay. We're in a really good place right now. I think we've got a really good team, and yeah, we have the best patrons that I've ever worked with in any of my libraries. I love this town. So, thank you all for your support.
Thank you.
And thank you for all the hours and hours and hours that you dedicate. It's a big deal. And you're not given enough credit.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Okay. Assessing.
So assessing, one thing I would just note while Larry's coming up to the podium is, there is a significant increase in the professional services, which is accounting for the contract with, Municipal Consulting Group. I just want to make a note here that I believe that that is intended to be largely funded through TIF. So that might shift as we get toward the end of this budget.
Okay. Larry Gardner, City Assessor. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, council members, for the work you do and the hours you put in and understanding everyone's budget. I'll take you through mine. Of course, the biggest thing here is that line item for the professional services for the municipal consulting group. What they're doing is they go out and pick up all the new construction, the permits. They work on the personal property to get that into the computer. And they're actually reading deeds to determine splits and getting those processed. And they're doing a really good job. They've got some good people. I used to work for a much larger mass appraisal firm, and I know how difficult it is to have good people out in the field. If you're the manager or the manager's manager, the bottom line is your budget, and you try to stick to that. But for people out in the field, the data collection is very important. You know, you have to know how to measure a house and measure it correctly, know the features of a house and the construction. And, you know, and sometimes, like the firm we had back in 2007, you know, the smaller firms sometimes, if they get a lot of business, they have to hire people that are not very experienced, sometimes not experienced at all, and train them real quick, get them out in the field. But this company, MCG Municipal Consulting, they do a terrific job. They have good people. You know, a lot of people now have security cameras, and most people are working during the day, or some people are not even there at their house. They may be living in Florida, but yet they still have a security camera. And so anytime there's people running around the house or knocking on the door, those cameras are picking that up. And I've only actually had one call from a person, and I'm a little surprised. I thought I'd have more. I think when I was out measuring and stuff like that, and you know, people, most of them did know me, because I've been here so long, but for new faces going around the house, and you definitely have questions, and they're doing a really good job. I just wanted to say that. But that's the big thing in the budget, so that I don't keep you here all night. But I'll go through the numbers as the account numbers for each line. And the first one's TIF revenue, and now that's 15,000. I wasn't really sure how we got to that 15,000 for.
I think that's just what Twyla had appropriated for staff hours that are eligible for TIF.
And that's revenue.
Yes, it'll be transferred from the TIF accounts.
Grant revenue is 0. We've never had grant revenue. Payroll, you'll notice the new budget is less than the current year's budget by about 38,000, and that's because the salaries, it'll be myself and only half of the assistant. And in code office and planning office, they take the other half of that, the wages. So it actually went down 38,000, which is a good thing. The employee we have is in a union, so the next line down is eyeglasses, and because that person's in the union, there's a
Part of their
$100
collective bargaining, it's
stipend
associated
for
with
that.
It's a $200 stipend. So that's reflected in assessing, code, and planning. It's what
And travel, same as last year. Well, tuition reimbursement, 0. Travel, same as last year, $400. Dues and memberships, same as last year. Training, a little less than last year, because the assistant, who I have half the time and half her salary, we're not trying to make her be the next city assessor. So the training to get that up real quick is not there. Then we get to the big one. It's the consulting company, professional services. And we had $1,000 in that budget last year. Now it's $147,500. And so Of course, that is the biggie. Legal is the same at 2,000. Office supplies, the same at 300. Printing and advertising, the same at 500. Employee appreciation, 200, same as last year. And then we get down to the IT services and IT subscriptions. The assessing, well, I pretty much control the GIS and the vision assessing software. And in years past, those things were in IT's budget. So for subscriptions, I've got them now. I never had them before. So, that's with all departments. It's, they're getting, IT services, their budget must be going down quite a bit this year. And then there's grant expense, and I have 0 there. So the bottom line is the increase for the municipal consulting group, and they're doing a really good job. And the big test is whether or not we can get commitment done much sooner than we have been the last couple of years. And I think we'll certainly be able to do that.
Are we expecting to do, I think we talked about, like a letter to, I don't remember exactly what we were talking, but I guess maybe that is the commitment out to people much earlier, right? Like July, this summer, right?
July
Or
is our
like
goal.
as a, this is coming down the pipeline thing?
Yes, and I think as in, Larry, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the intent is as we're getting closer to, if we are identifying any large shifts, like we saw in Waterfront, that we would communicate that earlier than just sending the commitment out. So there would be an interim step that says, hey, the commitment's coming out, we're doing the evaluation, this is what we're looking at. Please come in and talk to us if you have any questions prior to the commitment coming out. But the goal, that's only if we see any big shifts. The goal is to get it out by the 1st of July, so we can start collecting, so we have cash flow coming in. We're learning a lot about how all these things are tied together, but that is the goal. And I think Josh and his group are, and Larry, are good at this there.
Yeah, the group has a team. If we would have hired just one more person to be a full-time field person, it probably would have been less than $145,000. But you have to consider for their salary, but we have to consider the benefits of hiring a person, and it's probably at least $100,000 if we were to hire just a third person for the office.
Further questions for Larry? Thank you, Larry.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Planning?
I was actually hoping to get some of that money you want for the library.
Sorry, Larry.
It was worth a shot, huh?
Yeah, good job, Larry.
Maybe next year.
She might have left some on the floor outside.
I put the wrong page number for the planning, so it's 178, just so you're aware.
Good evening, everyone. Danielle Gift, Director of Planning and Urban Development. I'll present the planning budget tonight. And Brittany Merrill, our city planner, is also here if you have any additional questions about certain things. So I'll start at the top. You'll see a slight increase in our projections for planning board fees for next year. Just a little bit of an increase from 9,000 to 10,000. Our miscellaneous revenue will remain flat from last year. And then you'll see some TIF revenue, the same thing that Larry was talking about, where there'll be some of our I believe some of our salary can be covered by, or is TIF eligible for reimbursement. What you don't see on here is I am anticipating a reimbursement grant from the state for all of the work that we've done so far on the adult use cannabis. We're eligible for up to $20,000, and so far I've accounted for about $12,000. So once all of the licenses are through, I'll be submitting the reimbursement request to the state, so we'll see that coming in as well.
You expect that in fiscal year 2027?
Yeah, I do.
It is a one-time reimbursement, so we
Yes.
want to make sure that we're at the end of the line on that and collecting all of those
Yeah.
fees.
Which it will be split up when it comes in, depending on when it comes in, we will have to show it for fiscal year 26 revenues, not
Okay.
fiscal year 27 revenues.
So you split it
We would
depending on
have to
when the
split
work
it,
was
yes.
done?
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, because some of those expenses had happened.
Depending on when it comes in,
Yeah.
how far past it comes in, that's how we'll have to show it. But if it comes in way past, when we retroactive stuff for the fiscal
Right.
year, like for our audit purposes, if they're already started the audit, then it will not.
Okay.
But
Okay, and I'll work with you on the timing of when we can submit that.
Great.
We have 3 years from when we adopt the ordinance to submit that reimbursement request, but I think we can do it earlier than that. I don't anticipate additional work, substantial additional work on that ordinance past this summer.
Great.
And then I am also actively seeking grant funding to cover projects that we're working on. That's also not shown here because I don't know what is going to be on the horizon, but no, that is my standard operating procedure, is to seek grants for projects. For the expense line, the majority of our budget, of course, is within payroll. As Larry alluded to, that is covering my salary, Brittany's salary, and then a quarter of the assessing assistant salary, and all of the accoutrement that goes with her, because she is a union employee. So you'll see additional lines in our budget that you wouldn't have seen last year, and that is simply because of that employee. For professional services, we do keep that line flat from last year. We do have an anticipation of either using that funding to explore transferring our ordinances into E-code. We don't have an exact price for that just yet. I'll be exploring that once we get through phase 1. So sometime in the middle of the summer. Another option is we do need to digitize a lot of our archived and older planning documents that now live in the attic. So that is another option. So we want to keep our options open for something like that. So we wanted to keep that flat. For legal services, I think I got a little ahead of my skis on that one. In February, I was projecting that we'd be spending a little less than what our budget was in this current fiscal year, so I did reduce it, but unfortunately, it does look like I might have to keep that line flat as well. So instead of the $4,000 request, up to $7,500, just to cover us. The new lines that you'll see here, the IT subscriptions and services, again, hitting everyone, so those right there, we'll learn more about what is entailed in that, but we do have GIS services within the planning department, so that covers some of that. Tuition reimbursement is a little bit higher than last year. I am pursuing a graduate certificate degree from the University of Southern Maine in planning and community development. So it is a course each semester, 3-credit course. And so this is just to make sure that we have enough to cover until the Alfond reimbursement comes through. So that's what that $350 extra is to give us that cushion. You'll see an increase in travel. A significant increase in travel, and that is because it was never budgeted for conferences or workshops or trainings. And so this past year, we ended up using personal vehicles, which is just fine to be reimbursed for, but it was never really captured in our budget beforehand, so we're making our budget whole in that regard. So it looks like it's a lot, but it's to cover something that we weren't able to cover before. Dues and memberships is a slight increase there, and that is simply because we cover the HCPC dues, the Hancock County Planning Commission dues, and they, I think they showed us either a 10 or a 20% increase from last year, so that covers that. For printing and advertising, this is another line where I think I got ahead of my skis on that one. I tried to reduce it as much as possible. I know, and so I think instead of, I think last year, let's see. Last year, we were almost $10,000 for printing. I'd like to adjust the $1,200 to $2,400, so we're not bringing it just up to the $9,000, but a little bit higher than I anticipated in there.
Why was it so high last year? Do you know?
I don't know, actually. Sarah,
I
do you
think
have
there was some
input?
citywide mailers associated with some ordinance.
For the comp
In the
plan,
comp
maybe?
plan, some required mailers that caused us to have it be so high.
Okay, and this one, that's not the cannabis. Is the cannabis one gonna be, that we were gonna, the overlay and the, I thought we were
Yeah,
gonna do?
the cannabis layer ended up being less than we anticipated because we did a mailer for the abutters instead of citywide for that one. For the zoning table, the use changes in the zoning table related to phase 1 ordinance revisions, that will be a citywide mailer.
When you said 2,400, you wanted to go?
Yes. 2,400. The majority of our printing and advertising is the public notices for planning board. We will be discussing in the future increasing our planning board fees so that we can cover that a little bit more. But that's where that comes from. Conferences and meetings up just a little bit. This is to ensure that myself and Brittany are attending the conferences that support our knowledge and services. That's the Northern New England Planning Association meeting, as well as the Maine Municipal Association conference. So that's for both of us to attend those. We have never had a training line in the planning budget. Most other departments do have that, and so this is a new addition from what you've seen before. It's just $750. It's to cover webinars or trainings mainly through MMA, but also to cover expenses. Brittany is pursuing her AICP, which is the planning certification that most planners have. It is a standard thing, and so she will be studying for that exam, and so that's covering some of that training costs there. Public engagement materials, it looks like it's a new line. It is not, we're just rebranding it. It used to be called cleanup days, but we want to expand the scope of what those cleanup days look like and make it more of a public engagement line, so that when we do have public meetings for ordinance revisions or anything like that, we'll be able to either provide refreshments if needed, because we are finding that that is an incentive for people to come, and it's also a thank you for participating. The other part of it is being able to go out into the world, so maybe we want to go to the farmer's market and table and explain to people what is going on, so that is our thought process on that one. So it's beyond Cardbrook, in addition. Which is May 9th. Shameless plug. Office supplies, I did reduce that one a little bit. I'm a digital girl. And so I dropped that down. We're not using that line nearly as much. And we have plenty of supplies, at least for the next year, and probably beyond in our closet. So I don't think it's necessary for us to have such a, to have $600 in there. So I did drop it down a little bit. Employee appreciation remained flat, and then the eyeglass contact stipend, we talked about that. That's for our assessing assistant. Any questions?
Nailed it.
Okay. Thank you all so very much. Come visit us anytime.
If you could have full belly clams at one of these shindigs, I'm more than willing to come.
We will take that note.
You can hold now.
Yes. Thank you all so very much. Have a good evening.
Thank you, Brittany. Code enforcement, page 84. You figured correctly.
Okay, we're done.
I would also just note here that you are gonna see the short-term rental revenue and expense for the software associated with that in here. Obviously, there's gonna be more to come on that item on the 14th, but just wanted to kind of note that that's where this is living.
A lot of my, good evening, it's Robert Grant, the code enforcement officer. A lot of these lines are gonna sound really similar to the last two departments that went. So I would like to start with the permits. I did adjust down my expected revenue from last year. That was based on, my last year's budget was based on the previous code officer and what she had estimated. And it turns out that we don't really bring in as much as she was estimating. So I've dialed it back down from where it was in the current year budget. That's reflected. We have gone from, oh,
Can
go
I
ahead.
ask a question there? Is the cannabis licensing not in here?
Not for me, that would be,
No,
That's gonna be in the clerk.
that's
That's,
Sue.
okay, sorry, thank you.
All right. So, you know, so we also, in there, we also, Andrew, my deputy, is the animal control officer now, so that's the $850 revenue from that line, that's new. I'm honestly, is the TIF revenue, Sarah, do you know?
That's the same as the other departments. It's for staff time associated with work in the TIF districts.
Good enough. So payroll is actually down, I believe, from last year, because we're going from from this year, we budgeted for 3 full-time employees, we're down to 2.25 with the shared admin.
Sorry, can I go back up to the revenues, and you have the short-term rental, that's new.
Yes, that's what, we're gonna talk about that at the
Oh,
the
okay.
policy. That's my expected revenue from, if we do a registration fee to cover the costs, that would be my expected revenue from that. That's why I didn't tell you, we're gonna do that one at the next.
Next meeting, gotcha, thank you.
And then, so, I upped professional services from the current budget, just to help cover some of the costs that I've been incurring with everything. This year's legal fees and everything were crazy. Professional services, I'm expecting I may have to hire some more third-party inspectors for like all the commercial projects that we're getting. I am a little over my head when it comes to commercial electrical, and that's something that a third-party inspector will be necessary for. We have the new hotel coming in, any number of projects, so I'm expecting I'm gonna need that help. That was something that really wasn't budgeted for before, or wasn't budgeted enough, and we kind of just skirted by on.
Were we hiring people before?
We did
for help?
occasionally, I know that Lori did hire for the really big, like, solar field projects, but a lot of the other commercial projects, she would just walk in and look at, no fault to her or anybody else before her. But we kind of just walk in now and say, yeah, it looks good, but I'll be honest, I don't really know what I'm looking at half the time with electrical.
That's a very important thing.
You could burn a building down really quickly if you don't know. And to get certified to be an electrical inspector, you have to have 5 years of experience as an electrician. So I
And
don't,
that's his master.
yeah, so,
Not a journeyman, not an apprentice, that's a master.
That's kind of wild that the code enforcement officer is supposed to be
yes, most towns hire out
that
an
far.
electrical inspector. We used to have one years ago. We haven't for a long time.
Okay.
We just hire it now piecemeal, and the code office does like, for residential, like for single-family homes and things like that, that's fairly easy to handle, but when you're getting into big commercial projects, it's really over my head. And that's why I upped that a little bit this year, just so I can help pay for those, as I expect we're gonna get more commercial projects. The next one is violator enforcement. That was a line I had last year that they didn't fund. I wanted that's like my legal line to go after people that have violations. Before that, before a couple of years ago, the code office never actually had a line to go after to legally go after violators of the land use ordinance. So whatever, trash in your yard or chickens, we've had that come up before. Any of that stuff, or any more, anything like that, I didn't actually have a line to cover legal expenses for that. So so the violator enforcement fund is actually that legal line. I've asked for that back this year. If I had that this year, my legal line probably wouldn't be blown, but it is, I blew my legal line this year just because I have legal stuff going on for the last 2 years plus.
Robert, can I ask you a question on that? I'm reading on 91, the detail on that. You're saying, it reads like what you said, and I don't quite understand it. Encumber any unused funds from the previous year. So is this gonna be 20,000
I think that
money?
might be an accidental leftover language from last year. That's how we were going to handle it
Okay.
originally. So that might be a mistake on my part where I left.
So-
You can't encumber funds. far
Okay,
as
so
I'm
this will be
aware.
budgeting additional amounts, not encumbering from past
Correct, yeah,
years.
well, there's nothing to encumber anyway. There was
Well,
zero.
okay, well, that explains why I couldn't quite follow what you were saying. with
Yeah,
what I was
sorry.
reading.
That
Yeah.
that was something that got left in from the last year.
Okay,
when
thank you.
I copied it over and missed it.
Okay.
Where was I? Dangerous buildings is a new one I added this year, another 20,000. That's in response to, the first year I was here, we tore down, I think it was 16 Central Street, which was a city-owned, tax-acquired property that had to be condemned. And then we also, last year, we tore down the home that partially burned on the Fairground Road. The price tag for the Fairground Road was $19,360 some dollars. So I figured if we had 20,000, that was just to tear it down and haul it off. That doesn't include the payroll for the city staff from the highway department that actually did the work. That's only to carry the building off to DM&J Waste and pay the tonnage for that.
Wow.
It was almost $20,000. So that's why I figure worst case scenario, if we want to demo another house for whatever reason, 20,000 should cover it. That house was a pretty bad worst case scenario where there was a lot of stuff in the yard, a lot of hoarding situation. We also took the garage down because that had to go too. And then the highway department reseeded, cleaned it up. It looks really nice now. So I figured 20,000 is the worst case on that. If we have to do it again, we can do it again at least once a year. But we've done one each year.
Yeah, we've kind of gone back and forth on where this should live. Because sometimes it's a code issue, sometimes it's a tax situation. So it's landing here for right now, but it could change. Because it's not always a code violation or code issue that's requiring the house to be demolished. It could be a tax-acquired property and it's a liability for the city and we've got to take it down. So, but I just want to make that note that it's living here for now.
I added it in my budget just because I knew it was we didn't actually budget for the Fairground Road tear down, so I figure we probably should do that going forward. At least if we need it, we have it. If we don't use it, hopefully we don't have to use it. At least we have it budgeted for if we need it. And we've torn down one each the last 2 years I've been here. The only 2 years I've been here. Again, I have a vehicle lease there. I have the new, I guess it's about a year old now, the electric vehicle that the code office rides around in. I have that, and that's the vehicle lease there. Like I said, eyeglasses were talked about in the other ones, IT services, my training and travel, and then vehicle equipment maintenance, that's none of that's really changing. Insurance is all part of the vehicle. I don't think I have much else that's even changing. Yeah.
Robert, I'm not seeing the expense for the short-term rental.
It's at the
software.
top. 10-145, it's the 1, 2, 3,
Oh, that's the
4.
revenue. She's saying there's no expense.
I think it's in professional services.
And it's not, no, that's only 20,000.
Yeah, no, I'm not sure why that line is, only 20, it should be
It's
higher.
not in the line explanations that I can find.
It's the platform, the open web platform, which I think is $40,000.
Yeah, so maybe we need to get that fixed, I guess.
It's not in, yeah.
Where is that going? What's it?
So, to collect the revenue, sorry Nancy that I jumped in and said it's under the revenue.
That's okay.
The approach would be to have an OpenGov module that helps us track the permits or the registrations, send out the notice of registration, all of that, and that there is an expense to that.
Yeah.
So that's just not in here.
So I can briefly talk about that. The software allows me to basically automate most of the process that goes along with any potential short-term rental registration that we do. My previous assistant that we hired as a full-time employee for the code office, one of her roles was going to be having to manually do all of the tracking and permitting and setting up appointments and all that stuff that goes along with any potential short-term rental registration. OpenGov basically lets me automate most of that, other than actually going to do an inspection. That's the only thing I'd still have to have an actual employee do, other than click a few buttons, which I can do. So
So
that's one of the reasons we could get rid of go down to a quarter employee instead of a full
Right.
third employee.
So that's gonna add 40,000 to the code enforcement budget?
I think so, but it should be,
I was wondering, is it anywhere else in the budget, so we're shifting it? Or
I
is
don't,
it-
yeah, I know, I'm not sure why it didn't get in there, but
Okay, that's why we're doing workshops, to
yeah,
figure this stuff
let's
out.
find the whoopsies now. But yeah, that 40,000 should be covered and then some by any of that revenue that comes in.
Right, right.
And that revenue is an estimate based on, I don't know how many we're gonna collect first year.
And then again, if you're looking at 100,000 anticipated revenue, 40,000 for OpenGov, the rest of that money is covering your time with inspections.
Correct.
It's not that that's a
Yeah, no,
grab,
so,
right?
yeah, but yeah, it's not that 100,000 is an estimate. I'm not sure how many we're gonna capture. the
No, I
first
get
year,
it, but the
because-
idea is to cover
Yeah.
both the software and your time, not
Not just the software.
profiteering, yeah.
Correct.
Okay, thanks.
No problem.
Good catch, Nancy, thanks.
Any further
I need my happy
questions?
place
Wish we had a
here, guys.
bell.
Any further questions for code on the proposed budget? Seeing none. you
All
are-
right.
You are released.
All right.
Thank you, Robert.
Thank you.
Okay,
No.
we are into the
I'm
city
in
clerk.
budget season for Grow Smart, so I'm like, thank you,
Yeah,
good
thanks,
night.
guys. Have a good
Boy, we're
night.
whistling you guys right through.
Okay.
Again,
City
you
clerk,
can stay.
page 60.
So I am Sue McLean, and right now I'm the city clerk.
We need right now.
In a few minutes, I'm gonna be the tax collector.
I would say Wonder Woman just captures it.
I like that.
We'll get you the cuffs at least.
There you go.
Golden lasso. That's true.
So I'm not gonna go down and read it all out, because you have it there in front of you, but I will point out a few of the changes and the new, and I also, things have happened since I submitted my request. So I've got a couple more requests to put forward. But one of the things was the state and city licenses revenue. I got it at 16,000, but I think, to be honest, we probably need to increase that to 20. I know it's revenue, but it shows, since I'm collecting over that, it is showing as over budget on my paperwork, and it comes out bright red, and I don't like it, so.
I will say too, in the finance committee,
Yeah.
when we're looking at different from budget is shown as yellow, it's like, sometimes it's good, or sometimes it's exactly what we anticipated.
Right.
So we need to color code better.
Right, I want it
Yeah.
corrected. So anyway, that's my request for that.
The cannabis line is new. That is 30,000. And as far as the revenue goes, I think that's really all that was changing, other than adding the TIF revenue.
Should the cannabis license be 40,000? Because we're going to, it's technically gonna be 4, correct? Including,
If Curaleaf transfers, it could be a fourth.
it could be up to 40,000, right?
Well, I thought even if someone transfers, aren't we only allowing 3 licenses? Even if someone transfers?
Curaleaf would allow up to 4.
Yeah, I
That's how we
think
drafted
it was, I wish
Daniel
hadn't left,
I'm
but.
pretty I think.
Yeah.
We'll check on
Tabby's
that.
right,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tabby just made us 10,000
Lottery for
bucks.
3 or more, if there's more than, if there was more applicants, then you get 3 choices. When somebody wants to transfer, like clearly wants to transfer from medical, then we could have 4.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, and that's
But
beyond me.
That's fine. I mean, you know, just an estimate that you're saying I could be.
I didn't even put that there, Charlie did.
We
so.
wouldn't want that to be read on your.
No.
I don't want that.
Looking out
That
for you.
makes me mad. Payroll is increased quite a bit, but part of that is because it wasn't being applied correctly, because we've got a few of us that are paid out of different accounts. And it was, some of my payroll came for the clerk payroll, wasn't being taken. It was all being taken out of tax instead of split up like it was supposed to.
No, that's getting split up.
Now it is, but it wasn't in the very beginning.
Oh, so
Right.
what we do is we go in and do journal entries to correct the payroll.
Right.
Because the payroll import, there's no way to split that up. So it's actually a lot of work on the back end for the finance department. And we have to go in and individually do those journal entries for all the departments that have the wacky payroll.
Right, but in the beginning, when we were working on budget, I didn't have those figures, because that hadn't happened, so. And then shellfish dues, that has increased from 3,000 to 4,000 this year. We don't have any choice, that's just what they're telling us. Legal, I have lowered that for city, for the clerk, from 2 to 1, because I didn't need it for them. So, you know, I don't see any reason to keep it.
Can I ask on that with the election in November?
That's me.
Okay.
Yeah. That's why she's sitting here. So, and then IT services, of course, that's new. The other thing I have that I wanted to mention was the printing and advertising. When I first reviewed this, not everything was updated as it should have been, and I requested an increase to 3,000. That is still not going to be enough. Now that everything's corrected, I can see we need to up that. So I'm asking to go to 4,000. I'm over budget already this year. And the 4,000, I think, should cover us for next year. But I think that's important. And those are really my biggest things for the tax office. I'm not tax office, sorry, I'm not there yet. The city clerk. So, did you have any questions on any of that?
Any questions for the clerk?
Okay, so now I switch hats, and I am Sue McLean, the tax collector.
186.
Yeah, right. So, this one, I upped the tax lien revenue, and the reason for that is because the tax lien expense is increasing. And that's just costs that I don't have any control over. So those kind of coincide, one writes off the other eventually. And the other, printing and advertising here again, that also, I didn't really have to increase that one. I think I was, maybe I did, hold on. That is not the right one, that is.
You decreased it by.
I think I decreased, yeah, I think
500.
I was at 1,000 and reduced it, so, all I do for tax is maybe put, a reminder in as far as this goes. But I am asking to bring it back to 1,000, because that's all I did was put reminders in. However, with these new wonderful laws on tax-acquired property and how to sell them, there are gonna be times that I am going to have to post things in the paper. If we can't find of the prior owner, if we don't know who the prior owner is, that sort of thing. If we have money returned to us, we've got to let people know that you got to call us. We're going to have to post all that in the paper. So I would like to leave it at 1,000. And the other thing that I think I'm asking to add is a foreclosure maintenance line. And that is for buildings that we foreclose on that may need to have locks changed or windows boarded up or that kind of thing. In the past, it's always been part of facilities. But now we're asking to have it under my budget, and Charlie recommended 5,000. I would assume that would be enough for the kinds of things that I'm doing, although it sounds like after listening to code, I may be ending up with dangerous building stuff. So, I don't know, maybe next year I'll be here asking for 50, I don't know.
Are we adding that? Because I don't see it in.
No, this is a conversation, yes, I want to add it,
Okay.
but this is a conversation that Charlie and I just
After
had.
this, okay.
Yes, definitely. That's all since then. So, that's where I'm at.
You went down on legal, but your actuals for this year are over what you're asking for next year.
Yes, because I had a lot of issues this year, and I don't anticipate that next year. And I think it's even with the tax-acquired properties, MMA Legal is great. I always reach out to them first, because it's free. Well,
dues.
right, for the dues. It's not addition, put it that way.
It's already paid for.
Yeah, so, and as far as this, the tax-acquired properties, that, they're right on top of all of that. Not that the lawyers aren't either, but I can get the same answer from them, so I don't anticipate needing it.
Okay.
So where will we see expense and revenue as you move forward with selling various properties? I assume some of that's going to happen in fiscal year '27.
Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah.
That's, we didn't even address
Okay.
that in the budget.
So that's another policy
Because it-
conversation about do we even
Because that,
budget
But
that
that?
might
we're-
change what you've got there as far as revenues, there's a little bit more, but.
Well, but-
I understand that there's a lot of unknowns and.
There is a lot of unknowns, and we won't make any money on it, but it will pay some back taxes. So it will show
Well-
that we've brought stuff in. But,
Right.
but we, as far as the tax acquired properties go,
Right.
we will not make a penny on it.
And I think the policy question too would be for things that aren't tax acquired, but where we're actually deciding to sell.
Yeah.
What are we gonna do with that
Right.
money? We had talked about is
Where,
how to
and I
support
am.
housing maybe.
Right, and I am looking at
Yeah.
that property. I pretty much finished up with what I think is all of the tax acquired properties to get that information together. But a lot of the city-owned property, we're using one way or another.
Right.
There's not a lot or a ton available, but we haven't had that discussion yet. I haven't got there.
No, I get that, and that again
We'll
would
add
be
it to
a
the
policy
14th. Yep.
Yeah.
here. I think the key is getting it back on the tax rolls and back in use.
Right, because the tax acquired ones will have to go to be reconciled against the year for those taxes,
Right.
which is a long list of
It
them.
could be very multiple years,
Right.
and then there's all the expenses that we have incurred
I was gonna- yeah,
to
so-
try to collect that stuff.
To Pat's point, are we able to also charge back the staff time that it's taken to get them on the market? That can be for another policy question.
Yeah, I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah.
It's in the statute.
Is it?
It would, if it's, a lot of costs are permitted for tax acquired property. I don't know specifically
So-
staff time, but
Ugh,
if it
I've
were-
read that thing 10 times.
Yeah.
No,
you're
When
go-
when we
go
get to that
cross-eyed.
point of that
Yeah.
policy, I think it's a valid point. I would love to know how many hours you put into this. I'm sure
I
it's
have no
significant.
idea, yeah. I mean-
And that process is gonna be coming probably to the June, council meeting agenda, so we
Great.
might be able to have some of that discussion then too.
Mm-hmm.
When that
Definitely,
RFP is,
yeah.
And yeah, I mean, we're hoping to get the RFP out next week, but
Great, nice to see
I
it
can't
moving along.
promise. So,
Thank you.
Any
it?
further questions on the tax budget?
I can't wait to see who she's gonna be next.
I am not, I'm
Done.
I'm taking my hat off and giving it to
Thank you, Sue.
thanks, Sue.
But you're gonna stick around for moral support, aren't you?
Absolutely.
Next up
I
is
told her
general
I'd sit right here.
assistance. General assistance.
General
on
assistance is
page
first.
144, that's what it's on our list.
Okay. Katina Venatestein, Social Services Director, first hat. Let me get both my stuff out here. Do you want me to go down through each line like we've been doing? or-
Whatever, I mean, it's up to you. I think if there's any ones you want to highlight that you think bring our attention to, and you don't have to go, I mean, especially if nothing's changed in other ones we have. in
Okay,
front
so
of us.
let's do it that way. So, let me pull this form open. Okay, options. Way too much paperwork here. Okay, so, the first one I wanna bring to your attention is, actually, let me explain this a little bit. So, some of this budget is obviously, state reimbursable. So 70% of a portion of this budget we get back from the state. So on those specific items, we'll start with that. So that would be housing was my major decrease. And I want to explain the reason for that. So this year, we have had a lot of nonprofit agencies that have received grant funding, like Healthy Acadia, Families First actually received a grant that the city helped them with. So we've been utilizing the nonprofit agencies before using general assistance. So that has been a huge help to
great.
decrease this budget. So when somebody applies for assistance, I am requiring them to reach out to the nonprofits first to see if they can utilize those funds before coming to the city. So I have decreased that budget quite a bit, and I'm hoping,
I have reached out to them again this year, and they're foreseeing having the same funding next year. So I'm hoping we can keep that lower.
And Tina, are these some of the same nonprofits that come to us and ask for small
That is correct.
contributions?
Yes.
That's really good news,
Mm-hmm.
that they're able to be successful with grant funding.
Now I'm gonna go in the opposite direction with the food. So, food prices, as you know, have increased tremendously. And I've had a lot more people request for assistance with food this year. So I did increase that budget a little bit. Plus we had that bit where the state takes away the food stamps, you know, sometimes that does happen. And then our pantries are getting inundated. So, and then the people have to come to me, because I require clients to go to the food pantry first before they ask for assistance for general assistance. I ask them to utilize that first, and whatever they can't get there, I can help them with the remaining amount of food, or if they have a special diet.
That's a federal, when SNAP was
Correct.
in limbo, that was federal, passed through the state.
That was
so-
federal.
Okay, thanks.
My budget, my GA budget obviously is down quite a bit, so, Charlie didn't really make any huge changes in that.
And that's the same reason?
Yeah, it is the same
That's
reason.
And when you say, so for the 70% reimbursement, that's not accounted for here, correct, or it is?
That is correct, no.
So in addition to GA's budget being down, in theory, for housing, some of these other programs, we're getting 70% back.
That is correct.
Okay.
So where does, so this isn't the net number, this is
Yeah, it
the,
doesn't account for the,
No.
what we get back.
shouldn't we account for that? 70%?
I wouldn't know how to do that, that would be on the finance end, I don't know how to figure that number out.
Do you submit reimbursement to the state?
Yep.
And then they give you the 70% of that?
Right, which comes through automatically through the finance office.
What is the welfare general assistance revenue at the top?
Maybe that is it. Is that it?
The reimbursement received from the state for the city's general welfare.
Welfare general assistance.
So that is the
I don't mess with that
reimbursement.
line item, so.
Do you know, Ashley, is
I
that?
don't, but I can make a note to check on it and.
We'll make sure the maths on
Yeah.
Yeah.
that it's 70%.
Yeah, but yeah, I think we want clarification there, and if it's not accounted for, I think it makes a lot of sense to account for it as best we can.
Again, like with Sue, when I see that, it's red. So I'm like, well, what is that? What is that huge number that's over budget, but it's it's revenue, so.
It should be Shamrock Green.
Yeah,
It
I
looks
mean-
like you're under budget for the year for 30,000, is our actual year-to-date when we budgeted for 92,000. So I think that's why we came
That
down so
is-
much, is that right?
That line, that revenue line is the GA reimbursement.
Okay.
So that is
So-
what you get from the state.
Right, and I mean,
reimbursed.
that's probably why it's down,
Yeah.
because obviously I haven't used as much
Because of the
assistance.
nonprofits
Correct.
Yeah.
stepped up.
Okay.
Okay.
It still is much work, but I like knowing that we're not using as much city funds to
Right.
utilize it.
And still, it's only a 70% reimbursement, so it's still 30% of city.
And the city also has, which isn't really talked about during the budget process, but I still have the emergency fuel assistance fund, which is doing really well still. I still get a large amount of donations for that, and I utilize that too, a lot of the times in the winter. And we have also the emergency assistance fund, which is done for Christmas for Kids and backpack program, and that is all funded through the Cans for Kids at the transfer station. So all of the money from the cans at the transfer station go to the fund
Oh, that's great.
that pays for the backpacks in the Christmas program. Well, so we do other things during the year too. We do like a silent auction, so craft fair, yeah.
Humane Society.
So and all those funds go to that program.
Just a small item and not ready to make the change yet, but looking at the burial and cremations, as the cemetery commission is sorting through the funds and what they're allowed for, hopefully less of that falls on the city, even though I see there is a state reimbursement too.
So I'm regretting decreasing this one, actually.
Yeah, I see that. Yeah.
I'm regretting decreasing this one
Oh, you're regretting.
due to the fact is, since I've posted this budget, I've had 3 requests at over $1,000 a piece. So that's the problem with trying to figure out that type of budget. You don't know if people are
Right.
gonna need assistance or not, so, and I just went off of my previous numbers,
Yeah,
but
again,
I'd already be over
trying to
budget.
find out, is that an allowable use of some of the funds for the cemetery commission as we're trying to sort through it all?
Yeah, these, you mean like purchasing like a plot or something through this account?
I don't know. I'm
Okay.
looking at it and just, I know we've had a quick conversation, but. it's
Yeah,
part of
this
the paper.
specifically is to, there's a maximum amount that the city can pay for a cremation, and that's that specific line item.
Right.
Great.
And if that doesn't include the state reimbursement, that you may be okay for the year?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Great. Any further questions for Tina on GA? Tina, you may now put on your other hat.
Which one? I got
Thank
2
you.
more to go.
Elections, please.
Okay.
Elections is at 104.
Oh, this is my stressful one. I know, right?
You're doing good, girl. You're doing good. Breathe.
Well, it's
breathe.
past my bedtime. Just letting y'all know, my brain isn't operating on 100% here.
Oh, you're a morning person then.
I am, 3 a.m. Poor Sue. If we ever go anywhere together, I'm like, let's go. 5 o'clock.
3 a.m. is when I do my
Sue's
worrying.
going, be quiet, I want my coffee.
AM is when I'm getting.
I get
Hey.
up, I get up around that time of the, but that's it reinforced by an alarm.
Yeah, mine got an alarm.
Me.
She's out front beeping on the horn.
Okay, so
Sounds like a California
elections,
breakfast.
this one's all messed up. We did a few changes. One was to election payroll. I had budgeted for 20, but when I was talking with Charlie, we decided to decrease that because I've been using, city employees. I've been utilizing them a lot more than, because honestly, it's really hard to get people to work the elections. It's harder than ever to call people, and if they can't work, I gotta find somebody, so I pull poor Ashley or, you know, people from other departments to try to help me that day, so we reduced the money because we use city employees, so.
Thank you, city employees.
Yeah.
Thank you. Let's see here, what was any major other changes? Probably over budget, but I don't see where it is, like, my legal. Yeah, as you can see, my legal was through the roof, but,
Recount.
yeah. I didn't want you guys to think I wasn't budgeting, like I spent that much, but
That's fair.
okay.
Yeah.
But if there's a recount every year, is that kind of where we would be? I know,
Really?
I'm not building that on us.
No one wants a recount.
But is that like, we would have to incur those kinds of legal fees every time there is a recount?
Not
Or
that much.
Was it just a special year?
We
given the-
utilized them because we rewrote the complete new policy. So I had to rewrite how we did that
Okay.
from beginning to end. However, lawyer present is necessary on that day, so we would have to pay somebody to be here for that day. But I wouldn't foresee me needing to use any legal services throughout the process except for that day, because we already have the policy in place.
Okay, great.
Good.
Worth the money, you guys knocked it out of the park.
Yeah.
Thank you, that recount was,
I didn't mean to re-trauma.
It was a learning experience for everyone.
I'm looking down.
I had everybody all worried because I was showing up and it's like You don't need to be here. You don't need to be here. Yeah, I do, because I support what you did and what you did.
Yeah, it was
Not
definitely a
you,
major
you was
team,
hiding
it
upstairs.
was a team,
But no,
team approach, so,
Yeah, and you did a great job.
yeah, that was. Caitlin did a great, yeah.
You all did, you know what I mean?
If I could just add to that, it also proves the consistency of what happened there. There's always been this chatter about stolen elections and.
I completely
and
agree.
all foolishness about, chatter, 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 and so you have an electronic result and you have a human result, and they pretty close to match within one or two, right? I mean, it's a large statement that the electronic count and the human count supported each other. I think that's huge.
It is huge.
Absolutely huge.
And I hoped that the citizens see, helped them relieve some of their anxiety in the election
Yeah,
process, so.
Deputy Register Payroll, that's the one on your last line item, and that's up, or
It looks like it's a new item.
is it a new item? It was
No.
on, and then it was off in 26, but back in 27?
I separated those two. So,
Okay.
yes, I separated those two because I've been using, like I said, employees, but we have to pay an employee overtime if it's not within their regular job. So, I would pay Ashley to be my deputy registrar for the day.
So that's where that's coming, that's
Yeah.
how you're accounting for that.
And it's just, we only pay her after her 8 hours, obviously, so she would be in the election payroll would be after her regular 8 hours. 10 hours, holy moly, that's right, new hours, wow, I gotta get used to that. The second one I thought you guys might question would be the 16,400. This is a really big pain in my butt, this line item.
The rental.
Yes, so these rentals are our DS200 machines. And every year, we have to rent the municipal portion of those. So we have 4 municipal machines and 4 state machines. Now, I contact them nonstop. They still have not sent me an invoice from last year for these rental contracts. And I don't dare, you see that I've barely spent any money out of it. I don't dare decrease it because I think they're gonna be sending me an invoice and it'll be back
This would be the state.
the years. So I don't know what to do about it, and I can't, I've called them and said, can you please send it to me? Yep, we'll do it, we'll send it to you. I still don't have it, no matter how many times I contact them. I wonder if where they're trying to switch over systems, I'm just wondering if they're thinking, we're not gonna charge them until we know what we're gonna do with the machines. It's the only thing I can think of. Why would they not want the money? But I'm done calling them. And programming, is the programming of the DS200 machine, the sticks. So, now keep in mind, this is not budgeting for if the school budget doesn't pass. Okay, so if we have to have an additional election, after this election, it is not budgeted in here. And it has happened before, so. That would probably be an additional $8,000,
An additional how much?
around $8,000. If we have to do another school budget election, I wouldn't program our machines, I would just do it hand count.
Fingers crossed, we don't need that.
Yeah, right.
Any questions for Tina on the election budget? Okay, one more hat.
One more hat, yes.
Joint office.
Okay.
part of the cannabis bonus.
I really, it has to be. Somebody had to say it, thank you.
It's funny how that keeps
Capturing
coming up.
I mean, it's after 8:30, it's after.
It is.
bedtime.
Wow, he's on fire.
Smoking.
Dad joke central.
So many dad jokes.
Well, there's no revenue for the joint office, so I don't know what to do.
No, but.
Can we put a lid on it?
Ba-dum-bum. It's after 8:30, we're all officially benching.
This is the last one. Keep it together, guys. Keep it together.
Wait till council discussion next on the agenda.
I'm going over the fins after this.
You can have your own discussion over there.
I'm pretty sure they'll be closed.
No, I get special seating.
All right, postage and shipping.
Tina, what is the joint office if it's not cannabis? There were questions earlier.
So this budget is like a combined amount that all departments can pull out of.
So all else?
Yeah,
Oh,
so,
okay.
like postage and shipping, we have a postage machine and everybody, all departments use it. It is kind of a pain. That one's kind of blown out of the water. There's also gonna be another increase this year. So, which we didn't know when I was talking to Charlie about this, but Sue just informed me that they're increasing the postage again. So. Right, so Charlie, I think Charlie had, was it 32? We requested 35. What did he approve?
35.
35.
Okay, never mind. I thought he decreased it to 32. But, yeah, so 35, there was an increase obviously in postage due to the cost of postage for that, for all departments. And we had a huge increase for telephone. Those are reimbursements for city cell phones. The city got new cell phones this year. So a lot of the departments now each have their own cell phone, which I think might help next year for budget. I don't know. And I think the rest are the
So
same.
we don't have to do the reimbursements for the personal phones?
Just the personal phone.
This is
Whoever
just for
has the
personal.
personal phones.
Oh, this is just.
Yeah, this is just
Yeah.
for personal, so anybody that chooses not to do a city phone and does a personal phone, it's a $40 stipend each month.
Okay, and that's this stipend?
And that is the stipend, yes.
Okay.
Because the city phone should be in the department.
Correct. And
Correct.
there's also conversation of putting this into the departments next year. So the departments are responsible for anybody that is using a personal cell phone.
And there's also a conversation about that with postage.
Yes.
Yeah, because we already have no, we don't have postage and shipping, we're printing and.
Printing and advertising.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yes, gotcha.
And, because our machine does have the ability, like, I mean, you pick your department to ship out, so we can see, but not all departments utilize that, so it is a little difficult. We would have to make sure there's like a policy in place if we do that.
reports monthly. You can't get.
Well, a year or whatever.
Right.
Each department has to be run individually.
Office supplies, I think I stayed the same on that. No. I went up. Yeah, I went up in fees because everything's so expensive. Now, all prices have gone up literally for everything.
And this is outside of the departments that also have office.
Right, well, so what is purchased through that is like we'll buy a pallet of paper for all copying machines, pallet of paper, and we have a closet that has just straight miscellaneous supplies that each department can come down and grab, like file folders, hanging folders, miscellaneous stuff. All the front counter, clerk counters have to use, we have to buy pens, because people steal them, they go out the door nonstop, left and right, for the clerk's counter. So, I mean, just small stuff like that. And I think that we did, zero out some accounts, if you guys notice that, miscellaneous supplies.
You have an events that went up.
That was moved from HR.
Yes, so, yes, we moved the events from the HR department to the joint office budget. It just made more sense. Cause there's a committee that runs that, so. And we zeroed out office equipment and maintenance, professional services. That, reason we cleared that one out is because we had a, shredding on-site service here for the city, which, we canceled to save money, and we just got some shredders. So we just shred the paper now. Unless unless there's a big, we have to go up and clear out tons of boxes, we would call them and it would be a one-time fee. I think it's like $320 for them to come and shred, mass amounts of whatever needs to be shredded.
We just did that last year?
Yeah, I don't think it needs to be done for a
Yeah,
while.
we did that last year.
finance stuff.
Yeah, for finance stuff, we went upstairs and I think we got rid of 30 boxes. It was a lot.
And miscellaneous supplies. I used to have, funding in that account for, we used to separate, like, the kitchen stuff, like if there was, we needed to rent a coffee pot, or we had, like, coffee, or any of that stuff, like, that's all cleared out. We don't utilize that anymore. That's it, I think, unless you guys have any
Yeah,
questions.
any questions? Tina, on the joint office budget?
No more dad jokes, just to round us out. I say with respect, I respect dad
The
jokes.
street lights even went out.
Okay.
Time to go to bed.
Tina, it's definitely your bedtime.
It
Or
was.
to Finn's, that seems to be the option.
Okay, anything further from the deputy city manager?
No, I think we covered everything. Thanks for sticking with this one. It was a long one, but, good to get these behind us. I think we've.
Good night, Larry.
Fast and furious.
Yeah, I think we captured a lot of the things, so Ashley will have it in her change log, adding some things to the 14th, but we're good.
Excellent, all right.
See you Monday.
We're adjourned. See you Monday.